Hi, I'm Sheen, and welcome back to the shop. Today I'm testing Festool's RO150 Rotex Sander as part of Festool's Sand, Finish, Pass campaign. I'll show you briefly what I use the sander for, and I will compare it to some of the other sanders that I own. And hopefully this gives you an overview on whether the RO150 is a suitable sander for your shop or not. Let's get started. Now I'll explain the two modes on the RO150 sander. First, you've got a mode that's called Rotex, and the Rotex is a gear-driven mode where the pad is directly driven. It's aggressive, so you would get the performance like you would from a belt sander or a grinder. The advantage of the Rotex, however, is that the pad also spins in orbital mode, so that you get a random scratch pattern that's a lot easier to sand out than a belt sander or a grinder would. And the second mode is the random orbital mode. The random orbital mode is a mode that is used for final finishing. In that final finishing mode, what you want is a pattern that's really, really smooth and with a very random scratch pattern that that can be taken out with each successive grit. So you get tiny little orbital marks in the random orbital mode, and you'd get performance like you would with a high-end finish sander. So the first task that I'm going to demonstrate with a sander is I'm going to sand down my outdoor workbench. And this is a bench that's seen a lot of use. It's got stains, paint, you name it on it. So it'd be nice to take off this top layer and just give it a nice fresh coat of polyurethane. Now what I'm going to be using is the granite abrasives. The granite is designed to take away material that's got paint and finish on it, and it's designed to avoid clogging. So we'll see how well this works with the RO150. I've got 80 grit here, which should be sufficient to take away the wood on the top layer of this workbench. And then I'll move up all the way in the random orbital mode to 180 grit, and that'll set the stage for a nice fresh coat of polyurethane. So you see the top of the sander has two green controls. Now with Festool tools, all the light green buttons are all things that you can toggle. So this has got the fine particle diagram here, and this has got a coarse particle diagram. So to put it in Rotex mode, we'll put it on the coarse particle side, and that's going to enable the gear-driven mode. And this is the power switch here. So very convenient. It's hard to forget what each of these buttons do. So this sander has the standard Festool ports to connect the dust hose and also a plug-it cord. So we'll put the dust hose in first. And this is connected to the CT26 vacuum. And then we'll attach the plug-it cord. It goes in very easily. You'll see that back here there's a switch here that controls the speed. Now if we're sanding wood and most building materials, you probably want to be using one of the higher speeds. So we'll keep it at the highest speed, which is a 6 as shown on this dial right here. So over here on the vacuum, we'll keep it on the auto setting so that the vacuum will turn on automatically when the sander is engaged. And we'll also make sure this dial is on the strongest setting. Now usually with most finish sanders, you want to have this dial turned down a little bit so you don't inhibit the motion of the pad. Now this Rotex is a very powerful sander, so there's really no need to do that. And plus the dust particles can get scattered about. So we'll keep it on the highest, most powerful suction. As always, when doing any type of sanding, I always wear a high quality respirator with P100 filters. I have good hearing protection here because this sander is a louder tool, so it's recommended. And also safety glasses here, as with any power tool usage. Now if you notice, I just went over a pretty sizable chunk of finish right here, and that went away really quickly. But take a look at the sanding pad. I've been sanding for, about a third of this workbench already, and there's no buildup at all on this pad, which is really amazing. You'll see the dust collection has been excellent, and it's just been picking it up through these holes, and no sign of any finish clogging as you would when you're usually sanding paint. Let's take a look at Festool's multi-jetstream pad. You'll see here that Festool's pad has 17 holes, whereas a conventional pad usually has something like 8 or 9. This is unique because Festool's pad doesn't just suck air. With this conventional sander here that I have, all it does is it sucks air through these holes, and that leads to clogging here. If you see on this paper, it's sanding the same surface, it got gunked up really quickly. Whereas on the Festool pad, this hole in the center pushes air out, that keeps this area from clogging, and it helps these holes pick up the dust a lot better. You can see this is a huge improvement because not only does the sandpaper last longer with Festool sanders, you also get better sanding efficiency and dust collection. So this is an excellent design feature here. So I've been sanding for about 8 or 9 minutes so far, and it's been going amazingly quick. And you can see I've been making a lot of progress. Over here is the sanded portion of the workbench, and here is the original dirty side, and Sander's doing an impressive job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my stopwatch, and let's see how long it takes for us to finish off this last third over here. So we're all done here taking off this top layer, and it took about 7 minutes for that last third, and that's pretty impressive. So in total, around 20 minutes to do this entire 7x3 workbench. That's 21 square feet. I went through 2 sanding discs, and this one's not even really half used up. I just put it up for the last third, and I really could have gotten by on the first sanding disc. This one was just feeling a little bit slower, so I wanted to speed things up. So no gunking, no clogging up. This granite paper is really impressive, and this machine made it really easy to finish off this workbench. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to the random orbital mode, and I'll start with a coarser grit. In fact, the swirl marks left with the 80 grit are a little bit deeper than you would find with a random orbital sander because it's a Rotex mode. So the 60 grit will clean up those swirl marks a lot faster, and then we'll move up all the way to 150 or 180, and we'll kind of play it by ear and see how smooth it is. My experience with the ETS 150 is that this Festool sanders leave an impressively smooth surface that even at 150 grit it would be pretty good for just laying down a polyurethane. So let's check it out. So now I'll move this toggle switch over to the random orbital mode. We're all done here, and wow, that is a smooth finish. I only went up to 150, and I really can't see any sanding marks at all. So I would call this ready for coated polyurethane. With the workbench complete, now we know this guy can handle the big projects with ease. But can it do small projects as well? I'm gonna bring it to the shop and let's take it for a spin on a project that I've been working on and see if it can yield a really, really nice finish as well. Come on. Alright, here I have an edge grain cutting board that I glued up. The surface is still rough because it's comprised of many strips that have been glued together. So what better use for the RO150 than to sand the surface smooth? I'll take it down in 60 grit first, and then I'll do the rest in random orbital mode. And it should be really quick to get the surface smooth, and we'll take out all the unevenness really quickly. Okay, that was really quick. And this paper is what we used earlier on the Workbench, and it's still going strong. Look, the black walnut should be pretty dark, and any clogged up dust should show up, and paper is pretty clean, so this is impressive as well. What I'm going to do now is turn it onto the random orbital mode, and then we'll go ahead and give this cutting board a nice final finish. The RO150 did an amazing job on this cutting board. It was really effective in terms of time, but I also got a great finish as well. It was never difficult to balance, even though it was a heavier tool and a larger pad. Even on a small project, it was surprisingly easy to work with. So I highly recommend it for small projects as well. Now with the projects finished, I'd like to take some time and compare it to some of the other Festool sanders that I own and use on a regular basis. I'll be comparing it with the ETS 150 5mm stroke sander, as well as the RO90 DX. So first off, the ETS 150 is the same pad size as the Rotex 150. They share the same random orbital stroke, which is 5mm. And there's also a 3mm an option for the 150. This feels heavier, but it's in use, you can't really feel it. It's so well balanced, as you can see. It's not heavy at the back here. When you're gripping it here at the front, all the weight is evenly distributed, and it feels it's very easy to handle. Having the Rotex 150 is like having the stronger Rotex mode along with a finish sander built in. And in use, it's a little bit less smooth than the strict finish sander, but I was very impressed with how well it performed. The results were amazingly similar. I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that either one of these are better in terms of the finish quality. Now let's take a look at the RO90, and this is also a Rotex sander. You might have seen in my shaker media cabinet video, I use this guy to help finish off the tapers quickly. In use, this is going to be much slower for sanding a large surface. The pad size, as you can see, is dramatically different. Even though this is 90mm, it's compared to this 150mm sander, it's about 3 times. This pad is about 3 times larger than the smaller pad, which means you'll cover 3 times as much area in the same time. So for sanding large surfaces, this is a very poor choice. It'll get the job done, but it'll take a lot of time. Now for sanding small things like doors, face frames, you can't beat this. This pad size is perfect for that. And in addition, you also have the Delta mode on this, which is the triangular pad that enables you to be able to do some finish sanding on some awkward shaped pieces as well. All in all, my experience with the Rotex 150 and working both big and small projects was extremely positive. The sander is so well built, it's so smooth, and despite its heavier weight, it's still really well balanced and it handles so easily. The final word is this. The RO150 sander is so good in both modes. I mean, it never failed to impress me. If you're looking for a sander that can do pretty much any sanding task out there, all in one package, this is the sander to own. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching my review. I'll see you next time in the shop.